not me listening to Sufjan Stevens while I do my morning pages. I've never done anything original ever. The way that I know there's at least 5 of me doing the exact same thing right now, somewhere in this country or maybe even the world, like, there's a comfort in knowing that you're not original, you know? It takes the pressure off trying to be the coolest bitch you've ever known every single day. Hey, stop. I'm breaking form a little bit and stopping my pages, which is bad because there's so many days where I write like this. I'm actually not supposed to show you what I write, but I wrote 4 lines yesterday and then something distracted me. I'm pretty sure it was work, and I didn't finish them, and that was sad. So when I finish this clip, I need to go back to them, but I was just journaling about how much I love my space and how at home I feel in my little apartment I just bought. This is the funniest. My spending habits, a little questionable at times. I went to this thing called the Great Junk Hunt in Puyallup, and they actually have them up and down the West Coast, and I think in Arizona. It's like a traveling thing, and I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but it was at the state fairgrounds, and it was like the most Caucasian event I'd ever gone to. Like, every flavor of white person, every flavor of vanilla was there. Like, it was wild. You had the Rae Dunn white ladies, you had the like boho white ladies, you had the like antique burnt wood white, like literally every single white people thing you could imagine was represented there. I was actually getting a little concerned about the affiliation of that event because it was just so alarmingly white, like very scary. Anyway, on that very light note, didn't end up buying much because not a ton of it catered to my specific taste and the taste of the folks that I was with, but I did pick up, well, first of all, I did pick up a beer mirror, not my socks, not my fuzzy socks. I'm gonna straddle so you can't see. Picked up a beer mirror. I love beer mirrors. My bestie Sheridan, who I always stay with when I'm in LA, has like the cutest beer mirror, and I saw it in her apartment like 3 or 4 years ago, and I've wanted one since, and so that's kind of why I picked up the Coca-Cola mirror, because I was like, I don't even have like a favorite like kind of American beer. Like I like German beer. When I went to Oktoberfest, like Paulaner and Heffenweizen, like I would get a beer mirror for those, but they're less common. Like it's kind of an American thing, beer mirrors. Or maybe I'm wrong, but I can only find resellers of the American ones. Like the European ones are like few and far between. So I was just so stoked. There was a whole vendor just selling beer mirrors, and I thought this one, get this, this is the balance ball from my Goodwill video. Get out of there. I just thought this was so beautiful. I'm not a huge Miller Lite gal, but this is just such a beautiful little piece. So I bought that, 20 bucks, a steal. And then there was this eco gal selling wooden sustainable cleaning products, which as I've been stocking my apartment, love those products for multiple reasons. Number one, because it's not creating a bunch of plastics and nasty stuff that doesn't ever degrade and just kind of destroys the earth forever. And number two, because they're just more fun to use when you're cleaning. Like my little dish brush that I use, they just have these locally in Seattle at little boutiques, so I buy them there. This is so fun to use. This is much more fun than a sponge. Trust. And I saw this hanging up and I was like, what on God's green earth is that?
What was that, James?
And it's a duster. So imagine my delight when I realized I could. And look at the reach on this thing. I already have a 6-foot wingspan, but like, oh, and like it's so soft and it's literally so pretty that I just leave it in the corner. I guess somebody commented on my friend's Insta that she took a video in this corner. They thought it was a toilet brush. I don't really give a fuck. I think it's cute and I like having it out to remind me to use it. So I don't even know why I brought that up. Oh, I sent a Snapchat of me using that to my friends and I was like, look at this luxe ass duster I just bought for my home. I'm just so proud of like my little consortium of things. Like they just really represent me and my tastes, and I've never felt so connected to a space and like so relaxed. Like my cortisol levels are like baseline very low here, versus in San Francisco I never really felt that. I never really felt like fully safe and just like reassured and relaxed in the space, because I entered the space of my two roommates, like my two housemates. Like they had created that space, so it was their combined taste and then threw my taste in there. And of course you make compromises, and it's never gonna be like exactly what you want it to be. That's how it works when you live with people, you know, it's a collaboration. So this is my first shot at just like my own little space, because, you know, I've never lived alone before. This is my first time, and it's delightful. It's delightful to like have an environment that like in totality reflects your taste and what brings you peace and calm and joy and delight. And like, I have really been enjoying just small little luxuries. It's just so nice to just have something where you're like, that cost $20 and it just makes me feel so good, and it's worth it. So I figured this was a good time while I'm journaling to do some apartment updates, because I know I've been wanting to do that. I don't really think anyone's been asking for that. I don't really know if anyone gives a rat's ass about my interior design philosophies and aesthetics and style, but it's happening. Starting with my bedroom. Where do I even begin? There's so much. But first of all, installed this curtain rod. It's a double curtain rod so that I can have blackout curtains when there's more light. And then I have these linen curtains that allow light through, but I can change and be in front of the window during the day and no one can really see me. The slat blinds work okay in my living space, but they let way too much light in. I get like a piercing bright light in the morning that hits my face when I'm sleeping. We'll talk about this in a minute. And then I'm still working on styling this, but I flipped this dresser, got it off Facebook Marketplace for like $40. It's pretty much just particle board. Like this is wood, but like in the back it's particle board, on the bottom, like it's really a cheap dresser, and the paint was chipping off and the handles were really ugly when I first bought it. So I switched those out. I just ordered new ones from Lowe's for like $5 or $10, screwed them in, easy hack, and then bought this spray paint from Lowe's again and just went for it. Satin oregano, baby. Satin oregano. And then I just have my little embroidery that I've done there and a little bouquet, and I need to get like a better jewelry rack for my earrings. So if you have recommendations on more kitsch, kooky yuki, simple, modern, any of those aesthetics, I would love to get a new jewelry rack. This has remained the same. I love the mirror in this corner. It really opens the space up. Love this plant right here. It's thriving down there. It's doing so well. So if you have a dumb cane, this little dude is loving the shade. And then I have, this is actually a blanket from Cold Picnic that I bought this tapestry quilt rod off of Etsy, hung it up. And then I recently acquired a new pillow. It's a mushroom pillow from Parks Project. I'm such a fan. And then I know that like technically, I took one interior design class on Skillshare, and technically you're supposed to have repeating colors 3 times to make a room feel cohesive. So I tried to do the green with the green with like the green. And then I have like this burnt orangish with like kind of a dull brown with like kind of a burnt orangish. So it's kind of brownie themed. And then obviously the whites. The most recent addition though are my new Brooklinen sheets, baby. I am partnering with Brooklinen on this video, but I'll have you know, I've been a long time customer. I've bought multiple sets with my own money after being inadvertently sold on them by my roommate. Like every single person that I know that owns Brooklinen does not need to be paid to promote the company because they love their sheets so much. Like that's why I bought them, is because non-influencers, friends, civilians, we're already hyping them up so much, and my roommate in San Francisco had them, so I could just try them out, like sat on her bed and kind of felt them, and I was like, yeah. Because I'm always a little bit skeptical of commodity fetishism, like how much are these nicer luxe products really worth? Do 1,000 thread count sheets really matter? Because I don't know, when I go to hotels, it's kind of the same all around. I never really really notice the sheets. but you notice these. Like, I don't really have a great palette when it comes to textiles. However, there is some magic in these sheets. Before I changed them out to this set, I had a linen duvet and then their Luxe Sateen sheets, which are like the classics. I think those are their best sellers. And you got to get the Luxe Sateen if you're going to get your first set. Like, that's kind of the first, that's the first base. Because usually it's nice to have 2 sets of sheets so you can switch them out when, you know, it's laundry day. But I actually grew up with flannel sheets. So, a little fact about me. I have a little obsession with flannel. Started at a very young age. My mom's just always known that I've been like very attracted to flannel. I loved flannel pajamas. She would always get me flannel sheets growing up. And I realized that's not normal. Not a lot of people sleep with flannel sheets in just like their everyday environment. And so I didn't get them for myself when I moved out. Like when I went to college, I didn't have them. After college, didn't have them. San Francisco didn't have them. Here didn't have them. And with this video, because Brooklinen offered to send me a set, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna try out the flannel. And oh, this is the most comforting like slice of home. Like the packaging was like, it's gonna feel like a cozy cabin feel, and like no matter where you are. And I'm not in a cabin, but that is a cozy cabin feel. And especially in the winter in Seattle, you might not know this, but it's a little more north than California. So it gets a little colder here. Like today when I woke up, it was like 35. And I do have a heater, but something about the flannel just keeps you so cozy. And right now, Brooklinen is having its Black Friday / Cyber Monday sale. It ends today and you get 20% off all Brooklinen products on their site. It's their biggest sale of the year. It's when I waited to buy my sheets 2 years ago, and there's no order minimum required. So do with that information what you will. I will have Brooklinen and the sheet set I bought linked in the description as well for easy access. Which, as you poke around on the site, they have a lot of bundles, they have a lot of individual sets, so you can mix and match with patterns and styles. They have bath products, bed products, like they're coming for your apartment, they're coming for your home, they're coming for your space. Every single soft thing you have in your house, they want to be a part of that. I've just taken note of some of the things that have helped me adjust to the changing of the seasons more, and honestly like refreshing my space and rearranging things, hanging some new stuff up, switching out your bedding just helps you feel like a little bit more excitement for like, oh, it's that time of year. I get to use these limited time sheets. Like for me, I'm always gonna have the flannel in the winter, and then once it's spring, it gets a little bit warmer, I'll go back to the linen and Luxe Sateen. So it'll be a nice like welcoming into the season instead of more of like a push and a shove. I have greatly enjoyed styling my built-ins. It's just something about a little alcove brings me delight, and there's not too much different with these, just a little bit. And then I did get a grow light on this side, so I rotate in a few plants that need a little bit more light. And then I did just do some rearranging here, and I mounted this beautiful painting that I got done at the framing store. Love it. Have my little IKEA shoe cabinet here. Beautiful little strawberry shortcake delight basket for my outgoing mail. The gallery wall, she's done. I don't know the best angle to even show you, but I'm really proud of this. Like, this has been a long time coming. I've been collecting this art for years and years and years. When I do an official apartment tour, I'd love to talk about some of the meanings behind these pieces and the artists that make them and the craft that goes into them, because that's why I love having it on my wall, because there's a special effect to something that you sort of like, you know, curated. So that's a good enough update for now. I have 2 symmetrical pimples today. You know how when you're doing your eyebrows, for those of you that do your eyebrows, makeup gurus will always tell you to shoot for them being sisters, not twins? I have twins. Like, my skin, one track mind. So it's kind of a look. It kind of looks like I have those piercings that go into your skin. So now I know what I would look like with those. It's not horrible. Not too bad, but back to my morning pages.
Searching